All right, looks like we're live. Tuesday, June 29th, Power Hour. See how we did. Actually, before I even get into Clove and GameStop, I wanted to point out something real quick about AVXL because I actually just bought back in. If you were with on the Power Hour yesterday, I was talking about how, one, I bought in here at 1850. Um, and it had gapped up yesterday significantly, and so I closed out my position somewhere around here, like $28. And anyone who's been watching, even for Clove, we were talking about gap fill and how you know stocks pretty much always fill the gaps. I mean, 9 times out of 10, it just happens. And so I sold. And today it tanked down. It kept going, kept going. Once it got to it touched around 25. I bought back in. I went further out. I think I went with the $45 call for August, just to kind of play the momentum. I was able to get it for a lot cheaper than what I sold for yesterday. Those other calls, and I'm just gonna play on this stock, kind of still riding momentum. I think it's gonna pull back up at least to 25 today, and then kind of consolidate for maybe, who knows, maybe couple days, maybe a week or so, but then it'll start to kind of climb again. But it did fill the gap, so I'm glad I got out yesterday, playing that gap fill, and I entered in kind of right around here again. You can actually get in at a cheaper price now, but regardless, I'm gonna just try to play that for the momentum. It did fill the gap. Looking at, I just have these zoomed out right now because I wanted to talk about, kind of, we lost Clove over here. Let me see. How do I get these back now? Clove. Still learning my Weevil. But so Clove, we started the day, opened up at 1273, went down and touched 1254, and then absolutely ripped up. We talked about the options chain and how there was enough momentum there. I thought to push us to 16. I still think that exists. We just, people probably started taking a little bit of profits here, or the stock may have gotten shorted back down a little bit more. And then the options chain also has the reverse effect, right? So we are trading below VWAP right now, but it looks like this downward pressure that started somewhere around 1125. You can also see it significantly in, that was right when GameStop had its big spike of the day, and it started trading downwards at the same time, and they both kind of bottomed out around the same time, which was right around I want to say 11:55, just maybe like 5 minutes ago or something. Almost seems like GameStop is a little bit ahead, or Clove is trading 5 minutes ahead of GameStop here. But AMC kind of saw the same price action, looking like, yeah, maybe kind of found its bottom, maybe even a little earlier at 1140. But all those stocks seem to have been trading around the same, and so was the S&P 500. So I always like to talk about the correlations, between all these stocks. And if you look at the S&P 500 in relation to Clove, if it'll ever pull up, this big drawdown that we started to see in the 11 o'clock hour that somewhat finished somewhere over here around 11:55 and 12 correlates with the entire market kind of drawing down. So nothing too big to be worried about. We also know that um, you know the shorts have been pulling out a lot of shares. Um, specifically in Clove. Let me pull that up. I'm going to zoom these charts back in though. All right. Kind of take a peek at the iBorrow desk. I did look at Ortex a little while ago, and it was pretty crazy. And we'll go over that in a second. But here's the iBorrow desk. Let me give it a little refresh. So still 91% there. Remember, that's only from one broker. But Interactive Brokers, but they only have 300 shares available, and it actually looks like this hasn't updated in a long time. It's showing 1045 there. So I think somebody had figured out in the Clove subreddit the other day that when it stopped reporting data, it was because they were literally out of shares. But Ortex, okay, so I had referenced this in the stream earlier. 48 million shares on loan as of the beginning of this morning. If we go down now and look at the net shares borrowed, we're almost up to 8 million now today. 1 million returned, 9 million borrowed, almost an 8 million, 7.98 million that have been taken out. That's the net difference. So this number here now, plus 8 million, we're looking at 56 million shares on loan. The highest we've ever seen there that I can recall was 61 million. So there's probably about 5 million that could still be borrowed. So we'll just have to see how that plays out. But the cost to borrow is still ridiculously high. 91% on iBorrowDesk. 29% is the low through Ortex, 324 the high for an average of 273%. So it's very expensive for these guys to be short the stock right now. So that's a good thing for us. It costs us nothing to hold. Real quick, just looking around at some of the other stocks. Space we were talking about earlier, that's Virgin Galactic. It's now trading at 46.46, down 15% on the day. We just talked about AVXL. It looks like it's still dropping. I might have jumped back in too early. BNGO down 2.5% on the day, trading at 753. AMC down 2.79% on the day, trading at 56.49. CLOV as of right now, we're still up 5%, even though we fell below VWAP. Trading at 1350, and also looks like not a ton of support in here. There is a lot of buy orders, but no huge ones, and not a ton of resistance showing up. So we might be able to get some momentum here in Power Hour. GameStop down almost 2% on the day, currently trading at 209. And finally, BlackBerry down 4%, trading at 1227. The S&P 500's been pretty much flat on the day, plus or minus about 0.25%. So let's see here. What's your thoughts on the low volume with GME? Honestly, and I did kind of notice that a little bit earlier too. So right now, GameStop's volume, and I'll pull up the daily chart too, but it's only at 2 million on the day. So if we pull up this daily chart and just kind of see, this is probably one of the lowest volume days we've seen in a while, going all the way back to potentially May 5th, where volume was 1.7 million. I just think it's starting to dry up. I think that, that's really going to signify a pop here coming pretty soon. We've seen this before where volume dries up and then all of a sudden we have these big jumps even on low volume days, where just a difference of going from, 3 million, 2 million, 1 million. And then all of a sudden when we hit a 4 million or 5 million volume day, 8 million volume day, we start seeing these big run-ups. And that's been pretty consistent with GameStop since about, March. That volume's drying up. Kind of what I talked about with CLOV earlier too, that, volume reducing isn't necessarily always a bad thing. At the end of the day, it kind of means that people are buying and holding. They're not selling. So the only volume we're seeing is shorts coming in and pushing down the stock, and retail coming in and buying up a little bit here and there. So, the volume drying up for GME, and we still haven't really seen the effect of the failure to delivers coming back in. I think that's going to be good news. I think it's going to be ready to pop here shortly, especially because, and I'll just go back one more time. I know I pointed this out multiple times, but even though we've kind of came down and dipped below 200, we have not closed below 200 in quite a while. Dating all the way back to May 25th, May 24th. We found a new floor, and as volume eventually minimizes, I think, all it's going to take is a little bit of buying pressure to get this thing to explode upwards again. So really excited there. Just Wish it would have happened sooner to save some of my calls that I had a couple weeks back. Let's see here. Clove City, baby, absolutely. Not following GME, but Clove is ready to pop. Yeah, I think so. So anybody, I know I talked about it on the earlier stream. We're moving downwards right now, but still up on the day. But I'll go ahead and pull up this options chart real quick just so you guys could take a look at what I was. I did drop a video like right after we got off the live stream earlier, and what I was looking at was the open interest. So I'm on GME for some reason right now. Let me go back. I gotta click on Clove and then click options. There we go. So once we get past this $13 strike, between the 13 and 13.50, almost 20,000 open calls. Between 14 and 14.50, almost 13,000 open calls. And then at 15, 11,000 almost open calls. Not a lot of offsetting puts. So we really have the opportunity to kind of ramp this thing up as we get past 13.50, get past 14, similar to what we saw earlier this afternoon. But we are going to need a little bit more retail buying pressure to get us past that point. But the potential is definitely there to get us up to 16. And being that the cost to borrow is so high, even a move upwards of 16 might be enough to force some shorts to cover. Let's see. Need a positive closing stick. Yeah, I mean, even right now, this is positive. I'd love to see Clove close above $13. I think that would be really good for the stock. And if we can just continue to inch up day by day, I mean, this may be something that takes a while, and any positive days are going to be good for the stock. But there's also an opportunity to get this week to close above $15. I think, just based off what I was just talking about with I don't want to call it a gamma squeeze because there's not enough consolidation among multiple strikes to really get it to push up like we saw a couple weeks ago. But there's enough in there right now where if this buying pressure even comes back a little bit right now, we could see a similar run up like this to what we saw earlier. And I did actually figure out, anyone who was with me earlier, how to control that on Weeble. So I'm learning. But yeah, so to me, this run up that we saw here once we crossed 13 and started this all this increase in volume was absolutely gamma related, induced by the option chain. And I think that the potential obviously still exists there for it to continue. We just need to be able to hold these higher elevated levels now. Right now we're trading well above 13. If it gets knocked back down, let's stay above 13 and close the day above 13 and kind of use that as a new support level. Going back to the options real quick. Let me see here. The other thing that I did notice, volume today. $14 strike, almost 32,000 in volume. $15 strike, almost 45,000 in volume. Now that could be buys and sells. I'd imagine it probably is a combination of the both. But if this ends up being like a ridiculous number of buys, then I would imagine that these numbers here are going to be way higher, and that'll provide us with even more firepower if we can push the stock higher than that tomorrow. So it's really starting to set up to be a nice week, I think. All right. Sorry, I got a text message real quick. Clove is in a great spot. Absolutely correct. I believe so as well. Sean Lee says, been buying RIG, Clove, and GME all day. Yeah, I mean, I think these are both in great positions. Clove right now at the $13 range. And like I've been saying for a while now, GME, I think 200 is the new floor. So, anything close to that, you'll be positioned pretty nice for the next pop up to like the 300 level. Let me see here. So if you're new to the stream, thank you for joining. Really appreciate the support. Go ahead and hit the subscribe button so you get notified whenever I put out a video or when I go live. But I do go live every day from 6 a.m. to 8 a.m. West Coast time, California time. But I also will continue to go live sometimes on Power Hour. Most days during Power Hour, this show right here. So Again, if you're enjoying it, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. I appreciate the support. If you joined the stream late, one thing that I did go over, I did open up my position again in AVXL. So I'll just show you guys that real quick before I get to more of the comments. But AVXL, yesterday's power hour, I kind of talked about how, playing this gap up. I was in with some call contracts that I got into around here, went on a nice run. It gapped up yesterday on great news, and I exited out right before the end of the day, playing this gap fill, saying I would get out and get back in once we filled the gap. We did actually fill the gap today and some. Not sure if this is going to try to go down and fill this gap down to 22. I would really hate that because I did buy back in somewhere around here, around 25. So AVXL is a lot cheaper right now if you wanted to get in. But, at this point, who knows? It could be going down to try to fill this gap down to 22 even, before it continues to kind of on with its run. So we'll see how that plays out. Let me get back over here on our regular charts. There we go. Today was a good day, and we're in the green. Yeah, good afternoon to you. Thanks for the continued support. And yeah, I think as we continue to go, like right now, even 1350 is going to be a big number because of the key strike there. 14 will be another huge number, and hopefully this time we can continue on and roll past 1450. And the opportunity is there to do that today. So I'm really excited for this next, 40 minutes or so to see what we get. And if not, I think tomorrow the potential still exists too. Once you kind of get into Thursday and Friday, I feel like the market makers, short sellers, kind of have a little bit more control over it, and they won't let it continue to keep rising up and try to pin us down. But our max pain number for this week is $13, which is where they're going to try to suppress the price to. I got a buddy who's texting me about AVXL right now. Another gap at 22. All right. Okay. So GME just broke through VWAP. We'll see what happens there. Really down on the day though. I think we started the day with GameStop at close to 215. So down $5. But this stock, tends to move. So wouldn't be surprised to see a lot of these things start bouncing back. It seems like a lot of the meme stocks all started moving in tandem somewhere around here, the 11 o'clock hour, but the S&P 500 also started going down around the same time. So I think this is more of a market drawdown. What's crazy though is if you join late, like the S&P 500, it's not like it fell much. It fell from 428 to 427. But it does have the ability when it makes those big moves to draw everything down with it. So unfortunately, we just gotta be along for the ride. Anyone who wasn't on the morning stream, I started a Twitter account to kind of separate my personal Twitter and do one for this channel. So if you are on Twitter, go check it out. It's at Coach B Stocks. Same as the YouTube channel. I haven't tweeted anything yet. And I don't know how often I actually am going to be active on social media, as I feel like I've been very busy on Reddit and, doing these streams. But I did create one that way, I could get some information out there if I'm ever, out of town or anything like that. I can always kind of send messages that way as well. So that, again, that's at Coach B Stocks. And I put a link in the banner of the YouTube page as well. There should be a little link on the top right corner. So there's also that. Just looking around the markets, seems like everything's just trying to, make its way back to VWAP right now, and that's volume weighted average price. CLOV right now, we hit a bottom recently at 1326. Again, still up on the day, but really would like to see it kind of bust through this volume weighted average price. GameStop just did and held above it. Now it needs to maybe continue on, break this high. and it looks like it's kind of the same across the board. AMC's looking in the same boat on its way back up, and same thing with BlackBerry. Not sure if anyone's been following RKT. I mean, I don't have any position in it, but I do have it up on my screen. And something crazy happened, like right around 10:45. Again, I'm in California, so different time zones. But what would that be? About an hour and a half ago, it just hit some wild spike from about 1980 and popped all the way up into the $20.80 range. So about $1 spike of over 3 minute candles. And I tried to look it up and see, and I couldn't find any news on it whatsoever. Um, Not sure what's up with that one. Let's see here. Scotty, thank you. Good afternoon to you too. Good day for Clove. Anyone who joined late, I kind of already went over the Ortex data and all that, but I'll pull it up one more time. Let's see if I can expand this page, get it going right here. So we do have. Let me refresh this and make sure we're all good. Oh, see, it's continuing to increase. So 1.27 million shares borrowed today returned today versus 9.41 million borrowed. So that is now a net borrow of 8.15 million. Um, Group that in with what they're reporting, shares on loan as of this morning, 49. We're probably sitting at about 57 million shares on loan now, and there's still another 4 million out there basing that off of the 61 million that we saw the other day. Could be more than that, could be less, but we have seen this number of shares on loan, I think, as high as 61. So there are still shares out there. And I tried to clarify that too earlier, that a lot of people use iBorrowDesk because it's free, and I use that a lot too just to gauge things. But this is only pulling from one place. So when you see 300 shares available on iBorrowDesk, that doesn't mean that's all that's available in the market. So kind of important to know as you are kind of going through and looking for information. Let's see here. Any other stocks anybody else is into right now? I know we did have some people that were invested in AMC and BlackBerry, so I've been trying to, rooting for everybody, trying to keep an eye on all these different stocks. A couple people were in Virgin Galactic yesterday on that nice run, and someone even said they dumped them yesterday and got out, which is amazing timing because that's down 14% today. So again, if there's anything else anyone's interested in, I don't mind pulling it up and checking it out. ATOS. Not familiar with that one, but don't mind taking a look at it either. So let's take a look real quick. Tasa Therapeutics. Oh, that's been on a nice run. Just zooming out. I mean, this stock was at $1.48 back in April, and yeah, I mean that thing looks like it's running. It looks like if it's continuing to follow this trend, RSI kind of got into this high area, in 82 range, and it's just starting to cool back off. Look for a little bit of consolidation and probably for this thing to break back up again. Yeah, that's amazing. Some of these like pharmaceutical companies and um, these things can run. BNGO's one that I've been kind of following since a buddy of mine turned me on to it, and you know that thing moves once it gets going in the right direction. Let's see here. I'm in tomorrow to get some BTC control. Okay, yeah. So the Riot and Mara, I know those are the ones that kind of track Bitcoin. I traded a little bit of Riot back in, I want to say December or January. A kid that I used to coach actually turned me on to it, and I jumped in and made some decent profit on it. I know the crypto market. I don't usually follow too much with crypto, but I know that it has been kind of up and down right now. There's also been a lot of speculation that a lot of these hedge funds that are shorting these stocks because of the increased margin requirements due to some SEC rulings that they've been liquidating their crypto assets to meet margin requirements. Not sure the truth behind that, but that's some of the stuff that I've been reading on like that Superstock subreddit. They got a lot of good DD in there. A lot of people doing research that not only applies to GameStop, but I think applies to the market in general. Also, speaking of subreddits and everything else, if you are really heavily into Clove, one of the things we've been talking about recently, and we discussed on yesterday's morning stream, Tar Heel Blue, he's another YouTuber. He was on here, and what we were talking about was expanding the community. Okay, and so I put in the link to this stream today, the link to the Clove subreddit, okay, and also a link to the Clove Discord. Just other ways to kind of expand the community, and also if you haven't already, there's multiple YouTubers besides myself that are covering Clove. And I think if you go out and you subscribe to all of them and like their videos, what's going to happen is more and more Clove YouTubers are going to get into the YouTube algorithms, and eventually, as people are searching other stocks, these Clove videos are going to show up, and that's just going to help expand the community. So, by all means, make sure you go subscribe to all of them and like their videos that pertain to Clove, because it's just going to help in the long run. And there's a lot of great information out there. Let's see here. So these are all, and I've been talking about this too. I haven't been following a lot of these stocks like I normally have since I started streaming. I've only been focused on the stocks that that I'm invested in, just because I've been spending so much time doing the actual stream. And so the free time I do have to look up stocks, I've been using to kind of investigate the ones that I'm into. But just to tell you, I'll just take a look. But keep in mind, I don't have positions in these, and I by no means, I don't know anything about them. So SRNE, Sorrento Therapy. So this looks like another pharmaceutical type one. Just looking. Yeah, I mean, if anything, maybe it kind of looks pretty decent. I mean, I know it hasn't been able to get up here and touch this all-time high in 1939 again, but it looks like maybe it could be consolidating. Kind of hard to say. I don't know what kind of news are behind this. It's definitely on an upward trend since May 14th, and even basing off this last big day they had, looks like a little bit of consolidation there, and it might be ready to break back up too. Really hard to say when you don't know anything about the stock other than looking at the charts, at a glance. I know Workhorse has been a popular one amongst the kind of Reddit community and Wall Street bets and all that, and that's another squeeze player as well. So it looks like they kind of bottomed out right around the same time of May 14th, and is this an all-time high of 42.96? This chart actually looks really nice. I mean, I could see this thing as it continues once it kind of breaks above this level. Got a gap up here too. Probably looking to get up here and test this all-time high. So, but again, I don't know anything about Workhorse. It's not a stock I've been following or anything like that. But I know people are making a lot of money on it. Let's see here. Oh, why do I keep getting? All right, there we go. So Clover just took a nice drop to $13 and found support immediately. We kind of missed that a second ago, but looking at level 2 data, there is 48,000 buy wall at $13, which is nice because that looks like that's going to be our new level of support. Hopefully, if we can maintain that and hold that, like I said, even if it has to be baby steps, patience is key, and we're continuing to move upwards. And $13 is that max pain level. looks like 58,000 buy order now at $13. So, and there's another 10,000 at 1301. So we got a lot of support at 13 right now, and not a lot of resistance moving forward that I could see in the level 2 data. So, um, I think that's great for Clove. If we can establish a new base now at 13, that should be pretty significant moving forward. Massive calls on ATOS for 716, 221 for the $14 strike. Huh. Could pull up that option chart. Let's check it out. Let me see here. So if I go to charts, no options. I think I have to. I'm still learning this Weeble. It's only my third day. ATOS options. Here we go. July 16th. Open interest 14,000, $12 range, 50,000. Holy crap! 53,000 at 750, 57,000 at 9. How large is the float on this stock? Huh. Yeah, you are absolutely correct in regards to a ton of open interest here. I mean, it's all relative to the float too, but yeah, if this stock was to continue to move upwards, I see some huge potential, gamma squeeze potential sitting there. It'd be nice to kind of load up this $11 mark because that would get you to the 12, and that there's another 50,000 there. So, and look at the delta on this. 0.38, 0.41, 0.46. So a lot of these calls haven't been hedged yet. I'd really like to see what the float is, and I don't know how to look that up on. Let me see here. I don't know how to get that information in Weeble yet, so I'm going to pull it up in my Thinkorswim on my phone. But yeah, that's got some major gamma squeeze potential depending on how. I mean, obviously, if the float is, somewhere in the billions, it probably isn't as significant. Smaller the float, the more movement you're going to get. But those are some pretty high numbers. It's got a 906 million market cap, 120 million shares. Huh. Yeah, I'm gonna look into that. And that's July 16th. There is a ton. I mean, that definitely has the potential for a gamma squeeze. Massive calls there. So let's keep looking here. They're going to be driving the clove price down hard as market closes if they follow their pattern. Yeah, I think they're going to try to, but like I said, we do have a ton of support. I mean, now 60,000 at $13 and 12,000 at 1301. So, and 13,000 at 1317. So we absolutely have some buyers coming in and supporting this stock. You know, yes, there's a ton of borrowed shares out there right now. I think we saw a new net borrowed of 8 million last time we checked Ortex, and that's exactly what it's still at. But I would imagine that most of that may have been used to hit this thing down to get down to this $13 level. But we seem to be holding there. So this is going to be huge, especially if they did use a ton of firepower today, and we see that the utilization number is still sitting at 100 tomorrow, and we were able to hold above 13. Now it's like, we absolutely created a new floor and a new position to kind of springboard from, and that's what it's about: is continuing to move up and move up, and them continuing to be using up all those shares, because then eventually when they do have to cover, they're going to be covering from a higher price. So really interested to see how this closes out. We still got 25 minutes left in the day. Coach, do include Atos in your discussion. Yeah, I'm absolutely gonna look into that when we sign off today, and look a little bit, do a little DD into because that option chain absolutely had some potential, but you know, it's gamma squeezes don't always play out, right? Like, I mean, I was banking on one back in May for clove, didn't pan out. Banking on one in June, and we did make some money. You know, it went up to, what did we run up to? That's the day when we went up to like 22. So the potential for gamma squeezes is always great. I think it's worth throwing a little bit of money at, you know, kind of like lotto ticket type plays. Just be aware that the market makers know what's going on with those too. So they're going to be trying to hammer it down. Um, so I will absolutely be checking that out. Let me see. I'm going to check just while we're sitting here kind of talking. I want to see what the max pain is on ATOS this week. Looks like Swaggy Stocks is not covering max pain. All right, all good. Hmm. Okay. Again, if you are new to the channel, hit the subscribe button, support the channel, and you'll get notified whenever we go live here. Um, Mostly covering Clove and GameStop, but I am in BNGO. Just opened up a new position in AVXL. Looks like a little too early. I was trying to catch it on that, you know, that maybe it was going to bounce off 25, and it's now trading at 23.66. At this point, I think AVXL might be going down to touch 22. So, um, also, BNGO is another one that I'm in. And BNGO looks like it just broke through VWAP, trading at 761, still down 1.5% on the day. But I think if we can maybe break above 766, maybe we can go try to get back to positive on the day. Um, I'm really banking on BNGO to at some point get us above $8 and hold it, but hasn't happened yet. Um, all right, here, where we at? In terms of Clove, again, I'll just zoom out. Let me see if I can, or let's go to the daily chart. Obviously, today a nice green day, you know, but it would be better if we can close up to 14. But you know, it is kind of. It seems like right now we're getting pinned right below the daily moving average. But again, I think anything's better than, you know, where we opened at. We opened the day at 1270. If we can get above 13 and maybe hold that above as a level of support moving forward, 14 would be next, 15 would be next, and at some point, you know, the MAC deal crossover. RSI is still trading strong. I think this stock is probably going to pop any day now, without options too. I mean, you know, the option chain I mentioned in that DD I put out the other day, that it wasn't really loaded up for another gamma squeeze, but the cost to borrow on this stock is so ridiculously high that I can't imagine shorts sitting in here too much longer. Some of them are going to start getting bled out pretty quick. And you know, the big run up in AMC, what is it, about 3 weeks ago now? Obviously, options had a lot to do with that too. I think that was a lot of gamma squeeze, but the cost to borrow on AMC during that week leading up to it really started getting up there. And I don't know, I could be wrong. I don't know if it was actually this high, like Clove is, with an average of 273. So this is high. This cost to borrow on Clove is absolutely ridiculous. And it's just going to continue to force shorts out. And right now, they are unloading and continuing to short. So um, they're not letting the cost to borrow phase them yet. But, you know, let's see what happens. Maybe they're going to try to jump out some here before the end of the day. There's 20 minutes left. But I think any sort of pressure right now is going to get that stock moving upwards. What's this? Would you buy more Clove stock or sell puts? Ooh. So The only thing about selling puts, um, you know, obviously it could be a great strategy, especially if you like the stock. It's a bullish strategy because if the stock drops, then you got to buy it. Um, I mean, it could work out great in your favor. It requires more capital, right? If you're going to do cash secured puts, but if you're going to do, you know, I mean, that's the only way I would recommend doing it is cash secured. And I think most retail you can only do it that way. But yeah, selling puts wouldn't be bad because you can kind of rake in the premium. What's the volatility or the? Let me see here. Options. IV on Clove right now is 152. Um, if you were going to sell puts, you're not going to get a ton of money out of it. It looks like, $10 put would maybe be like 35% premium. Um, I could see maybe like a $12 put. You get a $1.10 back. But at the end of the day, you got to, that's cash secured. So if you look at, the risk reward, right? So if you were to sell a $12 put and, be able to put $110 in your pocket, and then, if the stock ends up closing below 12, you then have to buy the stock. And you're getting that $110 credit. But at the same time, what happens if the stock explodes, right? And so now you just made 110, and if you're already going cash secured, that means you had, $1,200 kind of sitting as dry powder. Anyways, I think right now is a good time to buy shares in Clove, personally, at this $13 mark. And the reason I say that is because, you know, with this cost to borrow the way it is, at any moment, if shorts start covering, we could see this price move upwards of $14, $15, $16, and start to move up. And then, yeah, you'd be able to rake in those puts, but at the same time, um, you're not going to be able to buy the shares if that makes sense. Because usually with puts, you get to exercise and grab those shares if the price decreases. Um, I mean, I could see selling like out of the money puts, like maybe let's say like a $17 put. You put $4.90 in your pocket, and use that money to help exercise. If the put pays off, and it probably would, considering that it'd expire in the money because I don't really know if we'll be able to hit 17 by Friday. So I don't know. I mean, it's definitely a strategy I don't normally use too often in terms of selling puts, but I could see it working to your favor. I think right now I would want to own shares. That's just me. I hope that answers your question. All right, so we're getting near the end here. We got about 15 minutes left, and it seems like we definitely, like I said, found that support when we went down and touched 1301. There's still a huge buy wall down there at 13 and 1301. But we're also catching some major resistance here where we're not able to kind of climb back up. So we've also seen some big buy orders come in at the end of the day sometimes with Clove too. So um, I would imagine if that kind of is the case, being that there was a net difference of 8 million borrowed shares today, and people try to cover out before the day ends, we might see a huge spike, and there still is that opportunity with the option chain to kind of continue that upward momentum. I don't want to call it a gamma squeeze, but at least gamma to ramp us up into the $16 range, and I really think that is going to be possible this week. Getting this stock up there. It kind of seems as though they lost control a little bit. We were able to climb all the way to $14 earlier today. Was 14 the high? No, we went even higher than that. We went up to 14.44. So, it does seem like they're starting to lose control. And with 8 million shares borrowed, if those were all utilized, I think if we see that utilization number at 100 tomorrow, there's not going to be much shorts or shares available to really borrow. So we'll see what happens. I think today is definitely positive. Anytime we go green is a positive day, and we are holding above 13. I mean, we're up 3.5% on the day. I know we were up almost 8, 9, 10% earlier, maybe even higher than that. But that's how it works, right? You go up and then you come down and consolidate and get ready to go up again. So that's just part of it. Um, let's see. We're approaching about 14 minutes left. GameStop looks like maybe it's starting to get some legs, starting to work back up. Taking a look at some of these other stocks, it does look like around 11:45, between 11:45 and 12, everything kind of turned around. Um, Virgin Galactic now is up to trading at 46.85 after hitting a low of 46. AVXL still moving downwards. BNGO is now trading at 757, hit a low earlier, 748. Not a terribly big range on that stock right now. But AMC also hit its low earlier of 56.22, and it's up to 56.87. And the S&P 500 continues to kind of trade flat, only a difference of 0.03% on the day. So what else? Any questions before we sign off? We got about 13 minutes left. I'll be glad to try to answer them if anybody does have any. I am very interested to check out that ATOS. I'm going to do some research on that tonight. Thank you. Who was that? Jawad, for throwing that out there. I'm going to take a look at that tonight because that options chain on there was pretty intriguing. And even if I'm not able to open a position on it, I've been talking about for a while now how my capital's been pretty tied up in the plays that I am in. I'll still kind of do a review on it and throw it out there because that does look very, very intriguing. Especially with only 100 million shares, in its float, and I don't even know what the free float of that stock is. So I'm gonna do some research tonight on that. That could be a pretty big mover. Just taking a look at some of these Ortex data and everything else. iBorrowDesk has kind of been tripping lately. Okay, it's back on. Let's see. So iBorrowDesk kind of went radio silent at 10:45, and now we just got a new, or this is actually 7:45 on the West Coast. But so almost what? That can't be right. 7 hours ago. But now all of a sudden it's back up with 20,000 shares available and 135% cost to borrow. I mean, this is these numbers are nothing to laugh at. These are some high cost to borrow, and the way that works is anyone who's borrowing the stock, just like if you're borrowing money from a bank or you're borrowing money to buy a house or borrowing money to buy a car, whatever it may be, you have to pay an interest rate on that loan essentially, right? So in order to short shares, you're getting these shares loaned to you, and there's an interest rate attached to them. And this interest rate is absolutely through the roof. So, again, iBorrowDesk is showing 135%. And Ortex, I'll pull that up one more time before we leave too. Ortex is showing us a low of 16.66, a high of 324%, and an average of 273. So those are some interesting numbers, in terms of what it's costing these guys to hold their short positions on a daily basis. How do market makers pin the stock price? My assumption is through illegal manipulation tactics, but obviously through shorting a stock, right? So market makers are the only people that are allowed to legally naked short a stock. Basically create phantom shares to sell into the market or to to go long in the market, to drive prices up. The reason being is to create liquidity. It's not supposed to be to manipulate a stock price. But if you are a market maker and you got a ton of naked calls sold, and you stand to lose a ton of money when retail gets you by the balls and starts driving the price up, I would imagine that they'll use that liquidity to create naked shorts and pound a stock into the ground to pin it down lower, by creating sell walls. Like when we're looking at this level 2 data, and the same way we see these buy walls in here at 13.01 and $13. As this stock continues to start moving up, let's say when we get to 13.50 range, I would imagine we'll see a nice big sell wall kind of pop up of like 30,000 shares or something that now we're going to have to buy through, in order to move the price up. And you know, it's kind of seems like a rigged game, but it does happen sometimes. They do lose control sometimes and let it kind of get away from them, and that's when the stocks really start to run. Let's see here. I think there will be a lot of chatter overnight about the increased short action today. Absolutely. I'm surprised. I haven't been on Reddit all day, but I wouldn't be surprised if it's not already up there. I mean, that increase in borrowed shares. Remember though, we did see, I think, about 61 million. I don't know if it was last week or the week before. I think it was the week before. That was the highest that I've seen in Clove. There may have been higher numbers that I wasn't aware of, but that was the highest number. But we're getting back to that. And what that means is, see, the difference is the numbers won't be reported until tomorrow. So, like, and what I mean by that is, if you look at the Ortex data, and the estimated short interest right now, it's showing it at 32%, but that 32% is based on today's number of 48 million. 43% of the free float is on loan, based on 48 million. Tomorrow, another 8 million, 9 million shares are going to be added to this, and we'll be sitting at 57 million. So this free percent of free float on loan is going to rise up significantly, and so is the estimated short interest of the free float. So, you know, that's going to absolutely, I think, create some chatter, but I don't know if it'll happen overnight. Unless somebody puts a post together on Reddit, which, if it hasn't already happened, I'll probably end up maybe typing one up when I get done with this, just to kind of put it out there so people could start seeing it, and maybe get it on some other subreddits too. Because right now, most of the great information coming out about Clove has all been posted on the Clove subreddit. It'd be nice to maybe get some stuff from Wall Street Bets and some other places to drive some retail interest into the stock. But I do believe that there's a lot of people watching this stock. People that maybe made some money on the first run up and are waiting on another opportunity to get back in, or just been kind of hearing the buzzwords about it and on social media and everything else, and kind of have their eye on it. And these are some numbers that will absolutely, I think, draw in some interest, especially when that number comes out tomorrow. The change in short interest. So actually, yeah, I'm sitting here pulling the screen up every single day, and I've never noticed this. So it's giving us the number right here. Estimated short interest change, so plus 14 or plus 16%. So that means that tomorrow we'd be looking at about 48%, almost 50% short interest. And remember, this is already one of the highest reported short interests on the market. So those numbers increasing are just going to drive in way more retail interest. Let's see. Everyone hit the like button and show the coach some love if you haven't done so already. Absolutely. Thank you for that too. I appreciate that. But yeah, and if you haven't subscribed, hit the subscribe button too. But definitely hit the like button. All that does is, help get this video into YouTube algorithms and all that kind of stuff, and promote the videos to other people, right? Now, I think that's very important in terms of spreading the word about Clove, is getting more people into the channel. And it doesn't even have to be my channel, whether it's mine, Dutch Trades, Tar Heel Blue. There's another guy named Sean Stocks, and there's some other ones I'm forgetting about right now. that I'm going to actually start a list and maybe start listing it in the details of my video with links so that everyone can kind of access these other ones. And like I said, go in there and like their videos too and subscribe to them as well, because all that's going to do is drive more people into the community, right? Um, the more people that are being exposed to, whether it be me or Dutch or anybody else, that's just going to have people, all of a sudden, maybe they're looking up AMC or they're looking up GameStop or they're looking up, I don't know, Virgin Galactic. And when they're done watching that YouTube video, now because, all of us YouTubers that cover Clove are getting heavier into the algorithms, now we'll pop up, and then now they'll learn about Clove and maybe we'll gain some investor momentum there. Real quick, while I was kind of rambling on there we go. 23,000 sell wall at 1345. I knew that would probably end up popping up at some point once we started getting moving. You know, every strike price from this point forward until we get past 15, I would imagine we'll see a lot of resistance at. Because as you saw earlier, when they kind of let go of it and couldn't control it, we ended up running all the way up to 1450 based on the current open interest. That's consolidated between $13 and $15. So it'll be 13, 13.50, 14, 14.50, and then $15. I think every strike price that we get near over the next couple of days, we'll see a lot of resistance at. But that's why it's important that we're closing above 13 today. So, and obviously we still got 3 minutes left. I'll knock on wood. But it looks as though we're going to close above 13. So if we're able to, that's just going to give us even more momentum for tomorrow to maybe close above 1350, then close above 14. And as we get closer to Friday, more hedging, and it'll be a lot easier to strike. I'm really hoping that, maybe we have some call sweep showing up in the 16, 17, $18 strikes too, because that would help propel us to 20. But we won't get that information until tomorrow. Wow. And we also now have a new buy wall at 1316 of 144,000 shares, 128,000 shares at 1311, 113,000 shares at 1309. This may be even some hedge funds coming in and trying to cover their short positions from today. Let's see how this pans out here. We might actually see a little bit of a wild aftermarket if that's the case. I think my suspicion is, obviously, let's say you're already short this stock 2 million shares, 3 million shares, and you're not quite ready to get out. With these high borrow fees, you might borrow 2 million shares today, sell them into the market, and then get out with those 2 million while still keeping your original position just to try to drive the price down, because it's going to be pretty expensive for these guys to hold. But those are some ridiculously high buy walls. That's almost, 600,000 shares, 500,000 shares. This could get pretty interesting. I'm going to refresh Vortex and just see if anything's been returned yet. And we're still at 8 million borrowed on the day. A net of 8 million borrowed. So we may even see some covering in after hours here. That would be pretty exciting. Let's see. Learning a lot from you. Thank you. Hey, no problem. I'm enjoying doing this, and this is how you learn. I'm learning every day too. So just even talking about this stuff, I continue to learn as I talk about it and continue to, it's always great to continue education and continue to learn. There's, if you feel like you can't learn anything new, that's when you, I think, start to make mistakes. You always got to be evaluating yourself and how you trade or how you do anything. Thank you for your time and your good work. Absolutely. As long as people are continuing to come on here, I'm going to continue to keep doing these live streams because I'm having fun doing it. I really am. Normally I'd be sitting here watching these stocks all by myself and, maybe text messaging some friends and that sort of thing. And now I'm actually able to sit here and talk about it and, get some good input from other people too. And which is really important and makes this really fun. I really enjoy the comments and everything that everybody leaves on there. So let's see here. What happened to these buy orders? A lot of it dried up. Oh, market close. Market close. So it looks like our actual closing value on the day is 1336. It was the official close. At least that's what my Charles Schwab app is telling me right now. And I could probably even look here and see what this one says. We closed, 1336 close on the day. And GameStop looks like it closed at. My computer doesn't want to work with me. Whatever. All right, so 1336. GameStop looks like it closed somewhere around 210. Before I take off, like I said, I wouldn't be surprised to see some covering going on here in the in after hours. And I also want to pull up the option chain one more time. Let's see here. I'm super new to this. My question would be: is it best to have positions in a few stocks or put everything into one stock? You know what? That's more of a matter of preference. I know there's some people who are 100% in Clove. I also know some people who are 100% in GameStop. And I have some friends who are 100% in AMC. I mean, I have my position split between GameStop and Clove right now. And I also have some smaller positions in 3 other stocks. So I have 5 that I'm kind of watching right now. I don't like to really get into more than that. I've done it before and kind of got overextended, and then what happens is it's hard to focus on them and pay attention to them. So really it's about whatever you're comfortable with. I know a lot of people would say diversification is better, and I firmly believe in that too because, for instance, let's just say I'm just doing GameStop and Clove, but I'm in 2. Well, if one of these doesn't pan out, but the other one does, at least I'm not losing, right? Or let's say Clove squeezes next week and I make a ton of money and I sell. Now that gives me more money to go put into my GameStop investment and buy the dip on it or whatever else. So, me personally, I like to be, spread out a little. Even if I'm really heavy into one. Like for a while, I was 80% GameStop and then 20% I would just kind of sprinkle into like those other 4. Now, I would say I'm almost about equal with my GameStop and Clove positions. Let's see here. Really interested to hear what you come up with regarding ATOS. Thanks for shedding light. Yeah, I'm going to. I promise you guys, I'm going to do something, and I may end up putting out a video tonight on that, even though I don't have a position open in it at all right now, and I don't even know if I have the available capital to open one, but I'm going to do some research on it. And if I don't put out a video, I'll definitely address it in tomorrow morning's live stream. So that was absolutely thanks for the heads up. That looked pretty crazy. So real quick before I take off, options chain on Clove, just to take a look at what I'm expecting. Moving forward, we do have a ton of open interest, and it looks like even more kind of piled in here since the last time we checked. Over here on this left column, what I'm looking at is volume. So this isn't reflected in the open interest. The open interest is right here. So going off of just today's open interest, between the 13 and 1350 strike, almost 20,000 calls. 14 and 1450 strike, almost 13,000 calls. And then at 15, we have 11,000. But now it looks like today, another 8,000 at 1550. Now, again, this could be sells and buys, so we'll have to see where these numbers are sitting tomorrow. But we could very well see some double digits all the way up until it looks like maybe 16. This very well could be ramped up tomorrow to set up for a gamma squeeze. So we'll see how it works. Right now, my assumption is if we can push back above $13.50, $14, we should be able to see a run to 16. Today we got topped out at $14.50, but now we see also 14,000 in volume on this call. So I would expect that this is going to be in double digits tomorrow, which means if we can get that push past 1350 again tomorrow, I would imagine we're really going to start rolling and maybe maybe see a little bit of a gamma squeeze now, 16, 17-ish. So we'll just have to see how that pans out. I really wish there was a way, and I'm going to look into that tonight to see options data the night before. And what I mean by that is right now, this open interest numbers for me don't update until tomorrow morning. But I'm pretty sure there's got to be somewhere to actually see those numbers, once the market closes. So I'm gonna look into that because this is pretty exciting here. 46,000 volume today at the $15 strike, 33,000 volume at the 14 strike. We might be looking at another little gamma squeeze setup right here. So could be pretty interesting. And one last time, I'm just gonna pull up before I sign off. I'm gonna pull up that ATOS options chain because that was pretty damn crazy. So again, this is ATOS now. I don't have a position. I don't know anything about this stock, but with the float of what I think I pulled up earlier was 100 million, which is roughly comparable to CLOV. You're looking at 53,000 calls, 57,000 calls, 17,000, which is nothing to kind of joke about. That's a big number. And 50,000. So, I mean, a lot of consolidation here, and even more consolidation back here with not a lot of offsetting puts. So, a lot of this stuff is going to go into the money the closer we get to. But this is also a July 16th expiration. So, these don't expire Friday, these expire in 2 weeks. But I'm very intrigued about this. I can't wait to kind of dig into this tonight and see what's going on there. Thank you again for that tip. All right, let's see. So let me see. Any thoughts on the lower end over the next couple days to buy a dip? You know, it's really hard to say. I mean, to me right now, based off what I saw earlier, the way that this stock was getting driven down, and the amount of open interest that were the amount of buy walls we saw on level 2, I would almost say this $13 range might be our new level of support. It might be the lowest that we're going to dip to. Obviously, we could go a lot lower. And the other reason I say that is because the shorts, borrowed a net of 8 million more today. And so you got to imagine that they already hit us with those, right? Um, Probably up here at the top and probably started hammering us down throughout the rest of the day, I would imagine. And if they did, they don't have a lot of firepower left. I mean, that means we're going to be looking at roughly only 5 million shares available to short going into tomorrow. Obviously, that could change right now in after hours. They could continue to borrow shares and short the stock, or even buy back shares and return them, which would make the price go up. But considering that, under the assumption that the utilization is being near 98% to 100% every day, I would imagine that these shares were utilized today. And if that's the case, and they weren't able to drive us below 13, um, I would say that's the new floor. But obviously anything could change. We could fall below 13 in after hours today. But I still think this is a great price. In the grand scheme of things, if you buy today, let's say right now at 13.30, or if you're able to get in on a dip at $12.80 tomorrow, um, you're talking about 50 cents. And 50 cents is a lot, don't get me wrong. But when you think about where the stock can go and how high it's eventually, like, this is a stock that should be trading at, you know, uh, in my opinion, now probably between 25, $30. So you're getting it at, a third of the price of what it actually is. It could still kind of multiply times 2 or 3 to get to fair market value. And then if a short squeeze kicks off in between there too, we might be looking at this thing running up to $100, $150, maybe higher. I mean, I have no idea how high it would go in a short squeeze, but I guess what I'm getting at is when we're looking at that big of gains, me personally, I would rather just buy in now and not wait for the dip because if you really plan on holding that long, if you were to make an extra $20 and get this thing up to 33, what's the difference between 19.50 and 20 bucks? You know, obviously it makes a difference if you're buying 1,000 shares or whatever, but when you consider how much you're going to make, you know, it's not really that much in the grand scheme of things. So that would be my answer. I still think we're kind of near the floor right now. You know, buying right here, I would say, is the dip off the 14.50 from earlier. But also keep in mind, I could be wrong too. Like I bought the dip 2 weeks ago at $17, and now we're trading at 13. So, um, you know, anything could happen. But I'm really excited about this stock. I think closing above $13 today, finding support at $13, closing above the max pain level, setting up for a little mini gamma ramp, I'll call it, instead of a gamma squeeze, because you know right now we don't have the rest of the chain loaded up, at least from what I could see in my options data, and being able to hold this price when a net of 8 million shares were borrowed against a stock that was already one of the highest shorted on the market. I think we're sitting at a really good position, especially when you consider the cost to borrow. All right, last one, and then I got to roll. So I averaged down to 1477. 1336 is a really good price if you believe in CLOV. Yeah, absolutely. I agree with that 100%. All right, guys. Thank you again for coming on the stream. I appreciate the support. If you haven't already, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button. I got to roll, but I'll be back tomorrow morning at 6 a.m. Hopefully talking about a huge after hours of pre-market that we had today. So we'll see how that goes. Take it easy. Good luck in any stock that you're in. I want everybody to do good and make some money. That's the name of the game. Talk to you later.